Hey, Chris, good to see you again, man. You recently projected a budget shortfall for the city of Houston, 230 to $280 million dollars. The new fiscal year starts July 1st. Is this going to be able to be made up by then, do you think?
Well, hey, Jason, first of all, great to be here with you as always. But yeah, look, the city of Houston has some pretty serious financial challenges. What my office is projecting is that with the status quo right now, we have a structural deficit, and that means that on a recurring basis, we have more money going out than is coming in, and that's to the tune of 160 to $200 million. In addition to that, we're in the middle of settlement negotiations with our fire union that if the current terms go forward are going to tack on 70 to $80 million a year to that challenge. And so, yeah, your numbers are right. 230 to $280 million is what's going on in the status quo once the fire settlement is added in, and we got to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Now, the good thing is that the city of Houston has a record fund balance. We have more cash on hand than essentially we've ever had before.
Is that
But
like a
that's
savings account? Is that what that is?
exactly. It functions like a savings account, and it's largely the result of ARPA money and other COVID related federal funding that has come in. But just because you have a big savings account doesn't mean that you can consistently spend more than is coming in, because then that savings account is going to dwindle pretty
Sure.
quickly. And so what we're looking at is really about a year of runway where we can continue on the path that we are on. And after that, we're going to have to make some very serious decisions about how we're going to button up, either to reduce cost of our operations or to bring in more revenue, or some combination of both.
Well, you're talking about reducing cost of operations. I mean, that does that mean less contracts? Does that mean less employees, less headcount, or how do you make it up? No one wants to pay more taxes, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are a number of ways to skin a cat, and that's the tough position that our mayor and city council find themselves in. Uh, that having been said, one, we can find ways to be more efficient, right? I don't think anyone would accuse local government of being operated at peak efficiency today. That having been said, the city of Houston needs to be doing more to invest in services, not less, right? As of today, we got folks who are still getting crazy high water bills, dealing with water main bursts, folks who are dealing with roads that aren't, straight and smooth, folks who are dealing with trash that's not getting picked up on time, and of course, continuing public safety concerns, even though those numbers are moving in the right direction. And so we have to be thoughtful about, number one, how we can share with Houstonians that we're working as hard as we can to make their dollar go further.
Yeah.
But then two, let them know what in this new world we find ourselves in, how much these services cost, and if that's worth the value that we're getting.
We spoke to Mayor Whitmire a few months ago, and he said that the city of Houston has had a budget shortfall for years, and the way they always make up for it is by selling land. But at some point, you're going to run out of land to sell, right?
Exactly. And as our city's financial watchdog, that's the story that we're sharing. These one-time fixes that we've used in the past, we're running out of those options. And so we have to get on the path to fiscal sustainability to truly, on a year-over-year basis, know what's coming in, and then what we're spending be aligned with that. And it's been out of whack for some time now.
You mentioned the hard choices that the city council is going to face. Of course, that's not your office facing those. You lay out the numbers and let council decide and the mayor decide what to do. What's most likely?
What's most likely is that they're going to pursue some efficiency measures. But when you think about this, so much of our general fund budget is simply paying people to do their jobs, right? And I don't believe that layoffs are imminent. We need more people to be doing more work, as I've mentioned earlier in this conversation. But I do see that there are probably going to be some slight budget cuts to some city departments, but I think it's going to have to be coupled with some revenue options. And the mayor has discussed a tax increase. The mayor has discussed tacking on garbage fees, which up in North Texas is pretty common in your major cities. The mayor has represented potentially charging our water utility for some sort of right of way, which I believe is an option that San Antonio has pursued. And so it's looking out at this set of options and understanding how much we're going to get for each one. And then they have to decide what they believe is most prudent and in the benefit of Houstonians.
As somebody who pays that water fee or that trash fee, but I don't like it. But that's for another conversation. The shortfall is primarily appears to be due for from what I understand from the $1.5 billion back pay settlement with the firefighters. Is that number going to grow at all, or do you think that's pretty set in stone?
Yeah, well, there's two parts of that deal. One is just the back pay, and what the number that the mayor and the union have agreed to so far, and you have to be approved by city council, is $650 million. Once you put that into a bond that's going to be paid off over 25 to 30 years, at a 4 or 5% interest rate, that gets up to about 1.1 to 1.3 billion dollars. So that's one piece. Then we look at the collective bargaining agreement going forward. What's proposed there is giving them a 10% raise next year, and then up to a 6% raise every single year until 2029. And that chunk of it is projected to cost us about $400 million on top of current day operating costs. So those are the two pieces of the deal. Both of them have to be approved by city council. But right now, we haven't gotten to the point where they've even been presented with the contract. And frankly, my office hasn't seen it either.
Why not? Any idea that, I mean, the handshake happened when Mayor Whitmire was sworn in, essentially.
What's been told to us by legal is that because these terms are still being negotiated and finalized, that's the reason that it can't be shared. But there have been leaked copies that have been shared to union members and others. And so many members of city councils have seen drafts already that the team has said is not final. But ultimately, a lot of city council members feel like they're in the dark right now. And my office is committed to transparency, openness, sharing more information. And I think getting that information out there as soon as possible is going to get us to the finish line sooner than later.
And no idea when that's going to be, though. I mean, by the end of the year, I guess everyone would hope.
That's what everybody would hope. But we haven't received any specific timeline nor expectation about when that information will be available.
Making matters a little worse here for the city of Houston is that another $100 million or so in costs might be added on top of the deficit after the 14th Court of Appeals said the city might have to foot the bill for some flood mitigation. That's just going to make matters worse, isn't it?
It would from a financial standpoint. Now, look, do we need $100 million extra every year going into roads and into drainage? We absolutely do. But the decision on everything, whether it's fire, whether it's public safety, whether it's drainage and flood mitigation, is how are we going to pay for it? And so that's the decision that, again, our mayor is going to have to make and recommend to city council. And that's the piece of it that we haven't seen just yet.
How confident are you going into July 1st here? I mean, this is the normal process. You mentioned that your office presents the numbers to city council and the mayor and let them make a decision. Is something going to be ironed out, do you think, by then?
What we're looking at is a budget that's going to be rolled out and proposed by the mayor later this week. And then over the course of a number of weeks, every city department, including mine, is going to go before council and talk through those budget figures in a little bit more detail. Members of city council are going to take all that in, offer their amendments, and then the goal is by early to mid-June that they would vote on an approved budget. There haven't been any road bumps with that in recent years, and I don't necessarily foresee any right now, but there are still a lot of open questions, and so I can understand your concern.
Chris, a lot of work ahead of you, man. I always appreciate the time. Good to see you.
That's what we're here to do. I look forward to coming back on and sharing information anytime.